Hey everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of Wicked Unscripted, where we have unscripted conversations about some of the most popular reality shows on television. My name is Abigail Adams. I am your host for this podcast, and joining me today, as always, is the lovely Sarah Talks. And we're here to catch up on episode 2 of Survivor 46, and a decent amount to catch up on.
Yeah.
They like to give us a lot in these 2-hour episodes. We're going to be moving back to 90 minutes this week as Amazing Race gets started. But what were you? I mean, I don't need to ask. I know what you think about these episodes. We were just talking about it.
So we talked about this a little bit on the Traders, but I don't mind a 90-minute. I don't mind a 2-hour episode, but don't do that and fill it with just filler shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to see the same competition in every single played out second. I don't need they had 2 segments of the competition. We didn't need that. I didn't need while it was very cute. It was very cute. The band, the band for band segment. Like all of these things where I just felt like we were missing elements from other people's stories that would become more relevant game-wise later in the episode. And I feel like some of these editing choices that you're just wasting my time at this point.
Yeah. I think one of the earlier critiques when we went to New Era was in the early episodes, they front loaded us with a lot of people's stories, and a lot of us were like, whoa, slow down. But now it feels like they've taken the opposite approach. And like we've noticed that basically at this point, you can pretty easily predict who's going home based on who is having their storyline spoken about. They are still giving us I do think that they've been doing a better job this season in particular of giving us some of those stories to fill in this 2-hour gap, but I would like at least one more, and maybe it fits in their storyline elsewhere. But it just, some of these segments, like, I'm a huge Metallica fan, and the first couple seconds of that were really fun, and then as we were getting to like 50 and then 70 and then 100,
107.
And it's fine to even show them hit that, but it took way too long to even get to that point, in my opinion. And I get they're filling some holes. This is why I don't think we need 2-hour episodes. I do like how we have found a happy medium at 90, I feel like 90 minutes. And I'll be curious to see how the editing goes as we move forward. But getting into this episode in particular, we're coming out of Jelinski's vote out. Banu is really lacking self-confidence at this point. He didn't perform the best at tribal council and definitely feeling like, besides Jess, that he is toward the bottom of the tribe, which isn't the worst read in the world. I felt bad for him because
it was so hard to watch.
I know it was
so hard to watch.
It was pain.
Hello, Banu. I stand by this. This was, I felt like Jess did better this episode than she did the last episode. It's funny because I feel like emotions ran high with competition losses, higher than they should have. And I felt really bad for Jess because I felt like she was taking a big part of the blame. And people were seeing her performance in the way they wanted to see them, not necessarily the truth. Jess wasn't lollygagging during the challenges. She wasn't just standing around. They just happened to have just voted out the perfect body type for this challenge.
They also just didn't strategize well. They didn't. They put one of their smallest people. We're talking about the challenge that comes up in this episode. They're having one of their smallest people try and hold up the center of the arc. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I was watching it with a friend, and we're looking at each other, and we're like, do they have a strategy? Because they literally have 2 of their tallest men still left in Banu and Q, and they're like running around doing other things. It's like, you guys are not prioritizing well at all. And it
No,
can't
and
just be on
Banu
Jess.
did get a little too heated during this competition. It was not
Yes.
helpful. He was passionate. He was passionate about this comp, which is fine.
No,
However, he was
absolutely.
not passionate in a helpful way.
It wasn't
So
constructive.
yeah, he wasn't as constructive as he could have been. So I think it's very unfair for Jess to be made out to be we should have gotten rid of her instead of Jelinski because Jelinski could have helped us with this comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is accurate that Jelinski was physically made for this competition. However, Jess was not the reason they lost. Jess was
Mm-mm.
putting in just as much effort as everyone else. Banu, I feel like was the least helpful. If you had to just like who didn't help the most, I would say Banu in this because did spend more time screaming and yelling than actually taking action. Whereas
Yeah,
Jess was at least trying. And so I
exactly.
feel like Jess did not get a fair shake in this episode. Tiffany does seem to be kind of like blinded by the shoulda, coulda, wouldas and made a very emotional decision this episode. So for in those regards, I felt very bad for Jess
Oh
because
yeah.
outside of that and what ultimately ends up happening, I feel like Jess did open up more. She strategized more. She played the game. She was putting targets out there. Like she was I think she's dead on. Kenzie needs to go. Kenzie is dangerous. Kenzie,
Mhm.
and I said last week, I was worried about the I'm queen. My phone's ringing. I'm so popular comment because in this episode, this week, we're starting to see that, yeah, I said last week they're going to notice. And guess what? This week they're noticing. People are noticing.
Surprise.
Um, and they are picking up on that, like, okay, Kenzie's dangerous. Yeah, she is. She's a lot more dangerous than Jess. um so I feel like Jess did everything right this episode that she did wrong last episode. She opened
Yeah.
up, she told her personal story, she put a target out there, she tried to work with people in the tribe. Like she did all the things that she should have been doing. She picked the right target too. She picked somebody that could actually be taken out as a bigger threat. And it was very sad to see someone do all the right things and it not work out at the end. And I know that that was an emotional decision led by Tiff, who, by
Yeah,
the
I
way,
mean,
still in my like winner pick. But I
oh
think
yeah.
that Tiff's emotions did like kind of blind. Tiff is in a great spot though. Tiff doesn't have a reason to go after Kenzie at this point. Tiff needs to get rid of her sooner rather than later
Absolutely.
before Kenzie gets rid of Tiff. Um, Tiffany is in the best spot in this whole tribe. She's good with everyone. No one is looking at her. However, I feel like this was one emotional decision on her part, and two, kind of a poor decision on Q's part because
Yeah.
Q, while he has the numbers to outvote Tiffany, and he could have made a move that would benefit his game absolutely. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity by Q.
Yeah, I had like a bajillion thoughts that I was gonna let's jump back to the beginning. There's a lot more to unpack as we go through. I
Sorry,
think
that was
that's a
a
really
monologue. I
no, I think that
apologize.
was I was gonna actually just say, I think that was a great way to actually get us kicked off and started because it actually kind of acts as a perfect little segue into the beginning of the episode. So as we're getting um past Banu's insecurities, we're really seeing part of it is that Jess is just quirky. And it's not in a bad way. She is just being herself. She's just not clicking with the tribe, and it's to no fault of her own. She is
Mhm.
just being who she is. She did, like you mentioned, she opened up a little bit, and she said she expected to be a social butterfly when she came out here, but she feels much more reserved, and I can see that. Um, I feel like she definitely turned on the gas toward the end of the episode. I just think, unfortunately, it was just a little too late. She hadn't even lit the gas by then. Um,
Well, in the very beginning of the episode is where we saw the Banu Kenzie
right.
moment, and I feel like Jess played that absolutely perfectly. She
I don't
didn't
know. I
She
disagree
didn't
because of Bonnie.
turn
Because of
Kenzie
Bonnie.
down, which is not something you don't wanna do that in that position. She didn't
Oh
turn
no,
her
of course.
down. She was
No,
open. She acted receptive. I feel like how she faced Kenzie in that moment was good. And she handled it the way that she should have handled it. Banu looked like a deer in headlights, and if Kenzie had just turned her out at the right moment, it would have given all of that away. His facial expression, he's so animated.
well, I just think the mistake though, like, I'm not saying that that wasn't, like, a mistake. That was totally perfect. My issue is as they're walking away from that conversation, she immediately looks at Vanya and says, "We have to vote her out." And it wasn't like a, "We need to consider," or, "Let's have a conversation," and then ask him like, "Hey, what are your thoughts? I'm a little concerned, blah, blah, blah." It was a very definitive, "We have to do this." And it came back to her at the end toward the end of the episode because they Bonnie wasn't sure if he could trust her because he had already seen her flip on people twice. And it was just not even flip on people, but spread information that she was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. I won't say anything," and then goes right to the person. He's like, "So how can I trust that that's what's going to happen?" And
I mean, I
that was
can
my
see that.
concern at the
I just
beginning.
his face, the look he gave Jess behind Kenzie's back would have been all the confirmation I would have needed that he's not okay with this plan. He's
Oh
not
yeah,
okay. He's not on board with what Kenzie's saying, and he's trying to give me eye signal. He was trying to give her like, what the fuck? Look, And I
but I
felt
think
like
still
in
the
that
way she
moment
handled it
she
wasn't
read
right.
it and was like, I need him to know I'm on the same page with him, not her.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's the way she went
I
about
clean my
it
mouth.
when we've both done that tonight. It's okay. Um, no, I don't disagree with that. I think it's about how she presented it though, because like it was immediate. We have to vote her out. Very definitive. Very much like this. It's like going back on that after like it's just it was a very like it felt very rushed, and it was like and then she kind of backed off not backed off of it because she was still passionate about it. She definitely didn't back off of the idea very much at all, but it was about a lot of the things that came into play into how this plan was gonna work out moving forward, and she just wasn't like, when you watch somebody go straight to somebody who so what happened after that conversation, she went directly to Q. Like, seems like without any hesitation, and I think that's just an automatic red flag because when they were coming up with these plans, it's like all Banu has seen is that that's what she's gonna go do with information, and he has no reason to actually trust her because they haven't bonded any other way. Like, they haven't done enough game bonding and personal bonding for them to, like, have that trust for him to be like, "Yes, I can
I
trust
thought
that
a
you
lot
won't go
about
back
that
on
and
me."
her going to Q. Here's what I feel like she did right, and here's where I feel like she should have done better. What I think she done right was going to Q immediately. I feel that you want to be the one to break that conversation news to Q and not Banu. Because Banu can do it, Q can hear it and go, oh, well, now I have ammo to Kenzie to vote Jess out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But in her delivery to Q, that's where it should have been different. I feel like Q would have appreciated because Tiffany is, let's face it, the shot caller of this tribe. I think Q would have appreciated him being viewed that way, and
Mhm.
just to have pulled him aside saying, "Listen, you're really the only one I've really connected with so far. So I'm going out on a limb here and I'm trusting you. This conversation just happened. I have an uneasy feeling in my stomach, but I want to run
Yeah.
it past you to see what you think. What are your thoughts on Kenzie?" And turn that around to where, like, you are
Yes.
looking to him for leadership because one, that's going to make him feel more secure with her. And two, that puts the ball in his court. She's not making any definitive, like, we need to get Kenzie out. Like, she's not trying to boss him around. He's already got that in Tiffany. So
Mhm.
he already has red flags up about Kenzie. And by doing that, by planting that seed, this could have gone a lot differently. It, he had that in the back of his head. And then Tiffany says, Kenzie doesn't want me and you together. Like, she's trying to come in between us, or she's like jealous of me and you too. So then that would have come at both angles to him. And then he could have led the charge to, and this could have been a seed just planted. However, she came at
Right.
him with a directive. And I don't think that was the move to play here. I think that's where she failed. Going to him immediately, absolutely, though. I fully back her
No.
decision to do that.
Correct. I think my big point is Banu was the wrong person to do this with. I'm kind of laughing because all I can think of right now is somebody commented on my TikTok. So if you're listening, shout out to you. I do not remember your username, but shout out hardcore because it is very correct. I put out my winners draft picks before the season started, and I gave little explanations as to why I picked them. And I said that Banu was gonna he seems like he would be much more logical than emotional. And so it's all I can think about right now. So that's
Ugh.
my I know. That's my sound, damn it. No, that's it's so accurate though. It's I look at it like that was why I think it was the mistake that I think that was just the misjudgment of hers was Bonnie was not the person to see this. Like, I think Banu just needed to know that the conversation happened rather than see it be so instant. I don't know what I'm trying to think of what else like really made him
I think she
uneasy.
should have just given him a facial expression to where she was on the same page as him
Yes.
without saying words.
Yes.
When he
I think
did
it
the
was a
look
little
like,
too
"What the
intense.
fuck was just that?" She should have been like,
Well, it's actually also it should have been like a yeah, I know. Almost like to stroke his ego, be like, "You are so right. We'll have a
yeah,
conversation."
yeah,
And not be like it almost felt like he looked at her and then she jumped and took the power. It's like you can have the power by just like agreeing with them because that has some weight to it, especially
yeah,
when you use it the right way. So I don't ultimately think in whole what she did was wrong. It was small missteps with the wrong person.
yeah,
And it's just that is how frustratingly fickle Survivor can be because there are sometimes that can there are plenty of times that happens and it just still works out for in your favor and you still manage to get through. Um it's the lovely game that we call Survivor, and it's just frustrating how it works because unfortunately it claims people like her who do everything really by the book as much as they can. She is still a little she was a little emotional herself. I think that played into it, into possibly a lack of trust in from Bonu because he's like, well, if I know she's emotional and she's gonna flip flop and he knows himself and he's already all over the place, he might be
yeah,
looking at it and be like, well, if I'm all over the place, she's worse. Whether or not that's actually the truth, because that I believe is what the perception was
yeah.
that she was just off the walls and not connecting. Um it would have been I would have been interested to see how she would have fared on another tribe, but I still just don't know how it would have gone. I just think it was her personality isn't quite clicking with this group. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to click with her personality, if that makes any sense. Like, there are just sometimes there's that person that no matter how great of a human they can be, or how enjoyable or entertaining, she's fun to watch.
I think she honestly, to me, she would have fared better on the Orange Tribe. I feel
Yeah.
like with personalities like Liz and
Yeah.
Soda, like,
I think
and
her and Liz
Kevin.
would have been like her
Yeah,
and Liz would
absolutely.
have
Not to mention Liz keeps putting her foot in her mouth, which we'll talk about. Um,
my lord.
oh,
We can jump on that now. We're
yeah.
segmenting out
So
of
we get to
this,
the
so
competition, and did you see all the I was living for all
oh my god.
the Parent Trap
So
memes.
fucking funny.
So you have
Oh,
Liz and Moira, Mo. Is that
yes.
what we're calling her? Mo?
Yes, we're calling her Mo.
Sitting on the bench. By the way, they look like fucking identical twins. So there's these memes everywhere. If you haven't seen them, they're hilarious of like the Parent Trap where the girls meet at summer camp because holy shit. Not only was this competition coming on, but they are having like a full ass conversation with each other, like getting to know each other, which happens. But it was so weird and just to see like Liz talk to a clone of herself. Um, on the sidelines, and I'm sorry, Liz was a lot. Like the sidelines here, it was like I've seen some before, but I don't think I've ever seen it as intense as her. Then you
So funny.
compact that with her once again talking about how much money she makes and how she's too much woman for any man because the men aren't secure with how much money she makes. I'm like, girl. Girl.
Nami is like a Jenga puzzle right now, in my opinion. It's like they are slowly pulling blocks and putting them on top, and like it's starting to teeter. And as soon as they lose a challenge, that Jenga pile is going to
Plummet.
tumble. Oh, I can't
Actually, you
wait.
know what? I'm gonna put this up here real quick just because we have
Oh,
faces for
totally.
people. But yeah, the Nami tribe. So I first of all, we on the heels of last week where Brandon wanted to go after Venus.
Oh my god. So glad we're talking about this.
Now they're in a fucking alliance together, which I'm here for that. Like, I don't know what made the switch flip in his head, but yes, more of that.
It's
Love
so
that for them.
I actually love like an odd couple, you know, where it's like they don't seem like they would have ever meshed. And he literally was like the person I trust the least. And she was literally saying the person I trust the least. And now they're coming together and it's just like, dude,
But they
dude.
both realize that they're on a tribe with bigger personalities and that they need to kind of have each other here. I honestly feel that Liz is probably the first to go out of this tribe. Maybe Randon. Venus is in trouble too. I think those are your kind of your bottom three. I feel like Soda and Tevin and Hunter are all going to stick together for a while here. But I'm loving the different dynamics here. I don't think we had some drama with the idols, and they pulled clips from the first episode and the second episode. For some reason, Soda does not want Venus to touch the immunity idols. Um,
Oh my god. Oh, and just to clarify, it's not that you're saying it wrong at all, just because sometimes
not
people hear it
Venus.
and they're
Well,
like,
yeah,
it's not the hidden immunity idol. It is
right.
the idol that they get at the challenge. I've had that
At
come
the
up a
top.
couple times and I'm like, no, it's being
Yeah,
correctly said. So I'm not actually
the
correcting you,
challenge
just
immunity idol. So
Astra.
they win, and Jeff brings it to them, and not once but twice now. Soda, the first time Soda grabbed it, and when Venus tried to hold it, she like pulled it away.
Yep.
And then this time it was handed to Venus, and Soda tried to grab it from her, and Venus turned and handed it to Randon. Um, I don't think Soda means anything by this. I think she's just extra
No.
hyped and excited in the moment, but it's gonna be funny after they go back. Like, well, I would be very curious to see Soda's reaction to this, like right
Oh,
now.
yeah. I also and I mean this in the kindest way, it's not like a negative personality trait, I think. I think it just shows that she is, like, so willing and wanting to take control of any situation, no matter how small.
I
And I'm
can
not saying that in a
absolutely
bad way,
see
it's just
how
like in a
Venus
game like
sees it
that.
though.
Hmm?
I would be pissed if I was Venus too. Like, it would start to
Oh,
now
yeah.
two
Totally.
comps in, it would rub me the
Totally.
wrong way too.
Well, that's kind of like when we were talking about in the last episode we just recorded, we were just talking about the Traitors finale, right? And so there's a lot of controversy. Everybody's picking sides. I'm picking the middle because I think that they both have points and they both don't have points because one person who I won't spoil it here so in case you haven't watched it and you want to go watch it, but one person's upset that at least one other person is has betrayed them and it's kind of this game of, like, righteousness, you know what I mean? And, like, doing the right thing, and it just kind of seems to mirror this situation in a lot of ways, which is kind of funny. Um, we also have, by the way, like, the Tevin and Venus stuff, like, that's starting to really reach ahead, like, those 2 do not get along on this tribe whatsoever. Um, and it's very much just a lot of I mean, Tevin has more people to talk to, so it's a lot of, like, as soon as there's things, it's just kind of, like, almost like a look now, and it's just, like, another "there she goes" thing, and, like, meanwhile, Venus is just saying literally, quote, unquote, "Tevin is king." Um, so there is a massive, massive power struggle going on right now on
Yeah. And
Nami.
I'm here for it. I'm here
I'm
for it.
living for it.
Meanwhile, on the Siga tribe, everyone's kubayaing. You know, like, I feel like there's no real drama in this group yet. Um, but they haven't
We're
really been
seeing
put
it
under
hinted
fire
at.
for it. Huh?
Oh, I was saying we're seeing it hinted at a little bit
A little
with
bit.
the Tim stuff, but it's not anything and it's not even just Tim, it's really their social dynamics are gonna be really fun to watch play out because Tim thinks it's all the men together.
Mhm.
Ben's just kind of like, I'll just be. I think Ben is mostly with Tim, and he's kind of similar, but I don't think he sees it as that black and white. Um, then you have the angels of Charlie's Angels who think that it's the women. And now all of a sudden, now we have Maria and Charlie who are comparing themselves to Malcolm and Denise. And I don't know if you know who those are, Sarah. I actually really encourage you to at least go watch a couple episodes of Survivor Philippines if you haven't, to kind of just get a sense. Because, like, the accuracy is
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's uncanny. It's really like I don't know if it's gonna play out the same way that Malcolm and Denise's relationship played out. It played out pretty well. Um, but it's just gonna be interesting to see if that's real, if they're just leading us down this
A rabbit
bullshit
hole, yeah.
path and they're
A
just like
nothing burger.
psych.
I mean, this is a great cast. Every tribe has stars on it. You know, like this is a just absolute all around great cast. Every year I feel like there's one tribe where I'm like, that's my tribe. That's where my people are. And this I have people in every tribe.
Yep.
And I love that. I would say as far as favorite tribes go, I think Nami's my favorite. I don't know why I tend to always like my favorites, my favorite collection of people always ends up being like on an orange or yellow tribe.
I'm like looking at them now, trying to make my decision.
But yeah, I'm
Ooh.
worried for Liz. I'm worried.
You know, I am. I'm not saying I'm not, but as we were talking earlier, I almost wonder because you were like, "Oh, I think the first person out on Nami is going to be like Liz or Randon or like Venus. They're the ones that are kind of like at the bottom." I just almost wonder if Liz is going to see where she is when it's time to kind of vote. I wonder if we're going to see her social savvy come out, or if she's just going to be totally blind
I
to
don't
it.
think you can close the I'm rich box once it's open though. That's going to be in their heads. That's in their
But
heads now.
it is, but also, why wouldn't you wanna but, Tevin brought this up in the last episode. Why wouldn't you wanna take somebody like that to the end? Because you can literally just be like, "Here you go. They have a lot of money. They've bragged about it. They've said that they don't need the money. Guess who needs the money?" It's not their only argument, but that argument does win a decent amount of, or it
Yeah.
can sway some people when it comes to tribal, because final tribal, because it can get very emotional, and that has played a role in the past. It doesn't always when it's brought up, but it is a weapon that can be used, and people will bring people to the end because of that.
Randon is the one I'm worried about them seeing as I need to get him gone
Mm,
before merge.
yes.
Same
I would
with
just hope
Venus.
Venus would get his I would just hope if he was out, that Venus would somehow get a hold of his advantage,
Yeah.
or his idol, or whatever it is. Is it
Yeah.
whatever position he's in? Give it. Well, you can't transfer Bewares though, I guess. If he was out without a vote, then it just probably go back, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, we talked a lot about the Jess stuff leading up to tribal council and everything, but tribal council was wild and I feel like it needs some time.
Oh yeah. And just to be clear, Randon did. I just want to make sure we get this before we go to tribal on a different note. Randon did find the Beware advantage in this episode. And I like that this go around, all of the Beware advantages are the same. I think it
Mhm.
puts it on an even playing field. I mean, I still think that they can do fun things. Like, I love some of the fun stuff that they had in the past, and I feel like this one's just kind of not as fun as some of them. It's definitely challenging, but like, I don't know, would like a little more daring moments in this one. But it's still not bad. I do like the even playing field. So I just wanted to make that note. I don't
Yeah.
know if you have any comments.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we didn't miss anything pre-tribal. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about though? After the immunity challenge, we got this scene of, just so we can wrap up the Nami box with a little bow. We got this scene of Venus being really upset with her tribe, and she is now more than ever feeling like she's not heard because her foot got ran over, and that's as a result of people not listening to her. And she's like, "What's the point of not being heard?" Soda and Tevin are like, "Oh, she's she's playing victim. She's being ridiculous. She's bringing down the tribe's morale. And we get this moment where, and this is the only reason I wanted to bring it up, we get this moment where Venus says she plans to flip immediately on her tribe if she can make the merge. And my question is, I just want to know full context. Does she mean also Randon if Randon gets there too? Or is she going to stick by her ally?
I don't know. I feel like this was, I don't want to say an overreaction. She did not play this well. Was not happy with how upset she let her tribe know she was about
She
this.
needed to keep this much more to herself and even just Randon.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This was not a good move for her. I felt like she let her emotions get the best of her in this moment. Yeah, I would feel more jaded about I mean, injuries are gonna happen
Yeah.
during a chaotic competition like that. You can't place blame on because Chaser, you're gonna end up accidentally hurting somebody too.
And you
I
can be
feel like
frustrated, but
honestly
to be like this.
the the shrugging away of the
Yeah,
idol 2 times in a row would probably be like my biggest beef that
I
if
know.
I'm gonna bring up anything, I would probably make a passive aggressive comment about it or like a joke, like I'm joking, but I'm not really joking kind of joke about it. Um,
That could have fueled her being angry, like, where because I know it did fuel some anger or frustration in her. I'm curious to know how much it, like, was the trigger for her to just be like, "I am so angry, and now I'm gonna let them know," versus
yeah.
keeping it inside. Because I know, no offense to, uh, any casting director that may ever consider me for their show. This would probably be what I would do accidentally is like there are times when I would totally be willing to keep it to myself, but like when there's that like straw that broke the camel's back,
Mhm.
when it's like she's trying to grab it again, even though Randon supported her, like I can't say I wouldn't have necessarily done the same thing. It doesn't make it smart, but it's like it's fueled by
Yeah.
emotion because you're
And when
just
you're this
so
early in the game, what she
flustered.
should have done is saying like my foot got hurt, like the thing went over my foot. I just need a minute just to make sure I'm okay because it's just really hurting me right now. And then used that to like conceal any of her facial expressions or her demeanor. They can just all be
Yeah.
played off as pain. That way she could sit with her feelings and process them.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to mention that. And then one other important thing before we get to tribal council itself is that back over on Yanu, who's going to tribal council, there's a little bit of fake idol antics going on.
Oh
Um,
shit. This was so cringy.
what was that?
This was just cringy to watch.
Oh yeah, it
And to
was
me, like
on
here's
all
the thing.
sides.
I know that I was having a very hard time being objective about this because I love a fake idol, I love a scandal.
Oh, who
Um,
doesn't?
but this whole thing
Was bad.
compacted with like I know Jess got blamed for poor performance in this competition unjustifiably. I know that she has had a rough go of it, episode 1 and then now in this one, like she's this this felt really mob mentality bullying to me and the giddy and the joy that Kenzie it just felt very mean girls to me and I get that's a game and so like I was having a very hard time separating strategy from personal. I don't think that they needed to do this necessarily. This felt like a little bit much.
I think that's why it rubs the wrong way because, like, I don't think it's the worst. I mean, it's one of the worst in terms of, like, they were so not slick, and also poor Jess couldn't find it. It was just all
But,
around
like,
a
at
mess, but,
that
like
point, like, you're laughing and that she can't
right,
find and then you're
right.
making fun of her for not being able to find it. It felt like overkill, and at this point, Q, you have the tools. You don't need a fake idol. She just told you she wants to get rid of Kenzie. So why don't y'all all just fucking pretend you're getting
Ooh,
rid of Kenzie?
I gotta say the way Q spoke to her, what quite rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, when she very correctly figured out it was a fake idol and literally was, like, looking at them and being like, "Hello, is this a fake idol?" She looked at Q and he goes, "I guess I'll just take it back then." okay, that's not the response that you should have when you get called out for having a fake idol. That makes you look super suspicious.
I mean, it
She
worked.
wasn't she didn't change her mind much after that. Like, it did make her be like, "Ooh, I just wonder." But ultimately it seemed like it just solidified in her mind that it wasn't real.
Yeah, I don't think they need to do
Um,
that. If you're trying to keep her from playing her shot in the dark, which again is only a 1 in 6 chance, is her staying with no numbers really like say what if she used her shot in the dark? Okay, have your backup be Banu. You know what I'm
I know.
saying? Like
Mhm.
if you're all voting or one of you vote Banu, the rest of you vote Jess. That way if the shot in the dark's played, then you're still set, you know. But like is Jess playing her shot in the dark a 1 in 6 chance really like you want to do that with a player? Like I get it. I get the strategy behind that, but like save those tactics for a player that's actually going to hurt you if they stay.
Mhm. It's
This just felt like so unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they were all already on board with this plan. There just didn't seem like there was any need to drive her down this path. That's what was really frustrating about it
The
all. Is
whole
like just
purpose they were
be
selling it
honest.
is so that she didn't play her shot in the dark, but
But I just don't care about that because like that
okay,
just feels a little bit like a cop out to me and it just
it
feels kind
does.
of like that
Y'all wanted to pick on the weird girl before she was out. Y'all wanted to have a moment.
I mean, they've been picking on her since day one. And I don't think it's also I
And
think
I don't
so
wanna overuse that word because
no, no, no.
bullying is this isn't like
Oh,
bullying, I get that it's a game. It
I don't
had
think it's bullying.
bullying energy, it had bully vibes.
It was It was just unkind. Like, it
Yes.
wasn't they weren't being them best self that their best selves them best selves. Um, they weren't being the best versions of themselves that I think we've seen that they can be. I think a lot of it was fueled by Kenzie's desire to have the shot in the dark get kind of flushed out. Like, it very much seemed like this was really what she wanted, and that a lot of people
And
kind of went
Kenzie's
along
the
with the
one that
crowd.
came off to me like the Regina George in this. Like she just it felt like she was getting off on making Jess and then harping that she couldn't find it and then like kind of making fun of her in her confessionals. And like I was really, really turned off by Kenzie in this whole situation.
And I don't think this necessarily is indicative of her whole personality, but
No.
it definitely was off-putting because
Yeah.
it's like, we're only 2 episodes in, and this is what we're getting, like, this
So I'm
isn't
gonna
the
say
best
like
look.
Drew last season. I adored I thought as a player,
Yep.
Drew was a very great player. I really enjoyed watching. He had so many moments though. I was like, ew, you
Oh
know?
my god, so many confessionals where I'm like, "I need to walk out of the room because that made me feel like I need to take a shower."
Yeah.
Like, that's how gross it
But I'm
felt.
not but, like, I still enjoyed him as a player, and
Oh
I
my god,
still,
yeah,
like,
and I still
stand
enjoyed him.
by him and Drew and Austin were my winner picks, my top 2, and I felt like they lived up to that for sure. I ill.
Yeah.
They're just people have ooh moments, and I feel like this was Kenzie's ooh moment.
Yeah, so we're getting to tribal council at this point, and Jess is really the only person on the hot seat besides Banu a little bit at the end. Bonnie, so I won't say she's the only one, but like,
I think she was until Banu opened his mouth.
again, this is the second tribal council he's done this to himself, where he's said too many words and he was already in a good spot, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing? Why are you saying the words you're saying?" And it's all emotionally driven. And it's like, God love him. He's trying. He's trying really like, I don't think any of this is any more than him trying to do what he thinks is the most beneficial move for his game, and instead, it is far from that. Like, one of the things that I thought, like, I couldn't believe happened is toward the end of very end of tribal council, right before they voted, um, Bonnie was like they were already questioning him about where his allegiances are lying, and he's like, "Oh my god, am I on the hot seat?" And they're just like, "Oh my god, like, stop, you're doing too much." And at that point, he's so stressed, he's like, "But I wanna show that I'm, like, equal to everyone." And Jeff is like, "Well, you just singled out 3 other people on your tribe that you seem to feel comfortable working with, but you didn't single out Jess." He was like, "Oh, no," and, like, he's trying to cover his tracks. Right after that, he goes and asks everybody but Jess for their opinion on how to vote, and I'm like, "Oh, buddy. Buddy, 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 buddy. You just did the thing Jeff told you not to do.
Yeah.
Jeff tried to help you and it went right over. But I mean, it's also tribal council. I can't imagine the stress and trying to dig out of a hole like that. I probably would have pooped my pants too, to be fair.
Oh my God, did you see what Brandon tweeted?
No. Did I?
During
What
the
was it?
episode, Brandon tweeted, Brandon, our favorite from last season.
We love Brandon.
Um,
Oh,
Brandon, he tweeted, he goes, "Hey, Banu just texted me and asked me who I'm voting for."
he is so fucking witty. We missed out on some really great shit with him. Like, I love him. He
So I
is.
gotta ask, is you're making the block what was the phrase, Tiffany? You're making the block hot?
Oh, how did she phrase it? That was basically what she was saying is
You're
like,
making the block hot? I didn't know, is that like a Survivor phrase?
no, it's just.
I get what
Oh,
she
oh,
meant.
it's
I know
about the
what she
hot
meant. I
seat.
just didn't know if that was like a common Survivor vernacular because I like the phrase.
No, nope. She is just an incredible wordsmith and makes me doubt my abilities every day of my life. No, I'm just kidding. No, she's just incredibly witty, I think. I think that was just like she was just like trying to tell him without it also like saying something that like someone could pick out very easily, trying to be like, yeah, no, sir. What are we doing here? No, no. Please.
I was here for it.
It was
I was
fun.
yelling at the TV, "Shut the fuck up, Bonnet.
Oh my god.
Shut the fuck up."
I loved it. The only thing is Jess didn't do too much better at tribal council either. I do want to say, and I've been meaning I didn't write it here, and I've been telling myself, make a note, you gotta say it. She didn't sleep an hour on Survivor. Didn't sleep, like, period.
Yeah.
Um, and she was telling Mike Bloom, she was like, eventually I was gonna have to just walk away, I guess. Like, what was I gonna
Yeah.
do? Like, I don't think she necessarily insinuated she was going to quit, but she was saying like she was getting to the end of her rope, like with no sleep. And when I rewatched it to take these notes, you can see it. I mean, you
Yeah.
could see it before, and it wasn't that it didn't stand out, but when you hear it come from her mouth, where she's like, "No, when I say 0 hours of sleep in the 4 days she was out there, that's a
Yeah.
lot of sleep to miss. A lot of it. Especially when you have ADHD and your brain is going constantly haywire and you need to
Mhm.
calm your thoughts down and then your thoughts won't calm down. Oof.
Yep.
Part of a
Yep. Sleep
big part,
sleep is an issue for ADHD.
I
Um,
think that's part of why you and I sympathize so heavily with her and her
yeah.
experience on this show is because like so much of what she's gone through, it's not just the social outcast stuff. It's the way that ADHD has impacted her game where it's like,
I wish she would have played her
oh,
shot in the dark. I
I do
feel
too.
like she had nothing to lose at that point, and there was nothing she was gonna write on that paper that was gonna help. And even if she wasn't the target and she played it and that whatever,
Yeah.
like the downfalls of that, she still had enough. Like they were talking the whole time before they even started voting. Um, they were talking about it the whole time, and everything that they said backed up that she was the one. They all but told her she was the one going. So
Yep.
I wish that she would have played it. I'm glad that she played the fake idol because why the fuck not? If if there's an off chance that it is real, you don't want to walk. I
Of
like,
course.
oh my God. Which I would never do, but if I ever went on Survivor and walked out with an I would have, uh, that probably would have hurt more than actually getting voted out.
Have you seen do I wanna? Because I feel like if I tell you this, it's gonna be a spoiler. Do you care?
No, I don't care.
Have you seen, James go out with 2 idols in his pocket? How would you feel? 2
What that
hidden
was
immunity.
recent, right?
No, it was season 15.
No, we had a recent person go out with an advantage and an idol. That was what it
But
was.
yeah, no, I'm talking 2 straight up immunity idols.
Yeah.
Like, that was back when
We thought that was gonna happen to Austin last year.
it was so well, and also it was one when did the idol come out? It was 11 or 12. My memory's foggy. I want to say it's 11 though. 11 it didn't play the normal way, 12 it didn't play the normal way. Yeah. Then 13, 14, 15. That was year 5 or season 5, not even year 5. That was just maybe 2 years into the hidden immunity idol being a thing on Survivor when that happened. How it hasn't happened more, honestly, is kind of beyond me. You'd think that we would have had at least more than one possible instance of that. Um, who knows? Maybe we'll get more in the future. One of the other really interesting points that came up at Tribal Council too was the discussion about long game. And Jeff was so surprised that they were already thinking about who they want to take post merge. And I'm just that's always frustrating to me when like I always find this debate frustrating in general because I think in the beginning there does need to be a balance of like who you want to take moving forward versus like what's going to keep your tribe strong. But I just it feels like maybe it's not how Jeff feels and it's just the way he's putting it, but it oftentimes feels that he's just like, you have to think about tribe strength. Why would you think about long game now? It's like you have you have to. Doesn't mean that you have to make a move that's 5, 6 steps ahead of everybody else. That's not what long game means. It just means that you are making the best moves for yourself in the long game. And if you're going to vote out one of your top allies because you're just worried about tribe strength, that's a problem. So I thought it was interesting. Tiffany said, I paraphrase, but basically saying we would be fools to like not think about who we can like pair up with or what the situation's going to look like post merge. So I love Jeff, but he brings that up every year, and every time he was like so surprised in this episode. He's like, "Wow, it's episode 2 and you're bringing that up." I'm like, "Why is that surprising?" I don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
I feel like Jeff, though, I made a comment during the episode too that Jeff made a lot of filler, like, oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. Filler comments where typically he feels a little bit more engaging. Whereas, like, this
Didn't feel like he
episode,
had.
even during the
Yeah.
challenge, he wasn't Jeff enough. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to hurt my friend Jeff's feelings. I do love him, but
I'm
I feel like,
not, and that's not saying anything bad. I'm just saying
oh
typically
no.
Jeff is a lot more like personalized in his responses and engaging. But if you go back and watch this episode, like during the competition, he was just kind of like narrating what was happening, which he does, but he wasn't like talking to individual players the way he typically does. Like he'll hype some people up a little bit
Yeah.
more.
I felt like
And
less
then in the
invested.
conversations, I mean, yeah, he got a little personal, but Jeff is so good at tribal council. So for this one, I
Yeah.
remember making the comment while we were watching it, like, I think Jeff's just completely thrown off by the dynamics because I don't think he knows what to say.
Oh, it felt like a lot of his questions hit dead ends and he
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, moving on, I guess." Like you could tell when there was flow in the conversation. You could tell when they were piecing things together to make the conversation flow for the show. But ultimately, Jess did get the boot. It was 4-1. She gave her 1 vote to Banu. And so that means if you're looking at our screen right now, we are tied for our winner's
Mhm.
draft. I have 1 out and Sarah has 1 out, which means by the end of the next episode, one of us will be back in the loser circle. Any thoughts on who it could be? I do have some. I could save that question for after we talk about the sneak peeks and next time if you want,
Yeah, let's
because I
say
had
that.
some notes. Okay, so my little notes on the next time on Survivor, and then we have 2 sneak peeks that have already come out for the week. So in the preview we got at the end of the episode, we see Banu crying to Kenzie and then like calling her a mermaid dragon. And basically the way he described it, it's kind of like Sour Patch Kid, but like in reverse. Which I thought was really great. Because it's basically like on the surface, she's super sweet, but underneath, she's a dragon. And it's like, ooh, I love it. So definitely an interesting dynamic there to follow up with moving forward. There's a boat that comes. What was it doing? I don't know. Is it a journey? We'll find out. We don't really know at this point, but we have a boat coming. So that'll be interesting. And this last little note is going to slide into sneak peek number 1. Venus is starting to see through Hunter's sweet facade, and she is ready to go after him if they are going to tribal council. So in sneak peek number 1, we see her actually approach Randon about this. She's talking about how Hunter's running the game. Couple quotes like, too many links with too many people. We need to break that chain immediately. But Randon seems to be questioning whether or not Hunter's that guy. And he's questioning that read. So in the second sneak peek, we see a little bit more of Kenzie lecturing Banu about being loyal. And that is when we get that mermaid dragon comment come in. So I feel like that those are 2 very interesting scenes for us to get ahead of this coming week. So I don't know if you have any thoughts now about who you think might be on the chopping block next week. Do you think we're going to see another Yanu loss? Do you think we're going to just decimate this tribe? Do you think somebody else is going to lose?
I could see another Yanu going back to tribal.
I absolutely could too. I hate to say it, but if this vibe is going to continue to be off, it's just going to be off in the challenges. If the communication's not going to be there and they have to communicate through a challenge, unless it is going to be leaning on brute strength that Q can carry them, I just don't know. I mean, I say that, but like, I look back and Tiffany was fucking impressive. I keep forgetting how impressive she was in that first challenge. Just like, damn, girl. Ugh, I love that. Yeah, I'm looking at, if I were to go against that though, I don't know. Maybe we'll see our first Nami tribal. Maybe that is a hint that we will be seeing them, because also we need Randon to get his key for the, what's it called, the Beware advantage. So who knows? I feel like we haven't seen enough of Siga yet either to like see them go to tribal council yet. Like we know so much more about the tribe dynamics of Nami than we do of Siga right now. We know more. We know very little about Siga right now. So hopefully we get more in the next episode. But with that wraps up this episode of Wicked Unscripted. So if you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We always are regularly posting updates on our TikTok accounts about Survivor and other shows. So make sure you follow us at It's Abigail Adams, Sarah Talks Big Brother, and Wicked Unscripted.
Our banners are not working.
Oh no! Well, then just listen hard. There we go. Ta-da! And if you want to ask us a question, share your thoughts, or leave us a tip, email the podcast at wickedunscriptedpod, pod@gmail.com for more. That is wicked unscripted pod, pod@gmail.com. We are always looking for fresh and diverse voices to join the conversation. And with that, we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.